The stars were quiet that night. Kang Taeho sat alone in his pilot chair, watching the endless black space through his dirty window. His ship was old. The metal walls made strange sounds. The lights sometimes went off for no reason. But it was his home. He called it the Wanderer, because that was what he did. He wandered from one place to another, carrying things nobody else wanted to carry. Taeho was 32 years old. He had dark hair that was too long, and a face that always looked tired. His hands were rough, from years of hard work. He used to be a soldier, a rescue pilot for the Earth military. But that was a long time ago. Now he just wanted to be alone. Space was good for that. In space, nobody asked questions. Nobody cared about your past. He was drinking cold coffee when his computer made a sound. It was a small beep, the kind that meant something was out there. Taeho looked at the screen. There was a signal. Very weak. Very far away. A distress beacon, he said to himself. He checked the location. It was in the outer rim, the most dangerous part of the galaxy. Pirates lived there. Criminals. People who killed for money. Smart pilots stayed away from the outer rim, but the beacon was calling for help. Taeho thought about it. He could ignore it. That would be the safe thing to do. But something in his chest would not let him. He had heard too many distress calls in his life. He had saved too many people. It was in his blood. He could not just fly away. Stupid, he said. But he turned his ship toward the signal. It took 3 hours to reach the location. When he got there, his heart became cold. There was a ship in front of him, or what was left of a ship. It was broken into many pieces. Fire still burned in some parts. Bodies floated in the darkness of space. It was a massacre. Taeho had seen death before. War had shown him many terrible things. But this was different. This ship was beautiful. The design was elegant, with silver and gold colors. This was not a normal transport. This was a royal ship. He flew slowly through the wreckage, his eyes searching. The attackers were gone, but they might come back. He needed to be fast. Then he saw it. A small escape pod, hiding behind a large piece of metal. It was damaged, but the lights were still on. Someone was inside. Taeho brought his ship close and connected to the pod. The air made a hissing sound as the doors opened. He stepped inside the pod with a flashlight in one hand and a medical kit in the other. There, on the floor, was a child. She was small, maybe the size of an 8-year-old human girl, but she was not human. Her skin was pale blue, like the color of ice. Her hair was silver and white. Her eyes were closed. Blood was on her face and arms. She was barely breathing. Taeho dropped to his knees beside her. His hands moved fast. He checked her heartbeat. It was weak, but there. He cleaned her wounds and wrapped them in bandages. He gave her medicine to help her body heal. All the while, he talked to her, even though she could not hear him. "Stay with me, little one. You are going to be okay. I have got you now." He carried her back to his ship and put her on his bed. It was the only soft place on the Wanderer. He covered her with a blanket and sat beside her, watching her breathe. Hours passed. Taeho did not sleep. He could not. He kept looking at the strange alien girl, wondering who she was, wondering who had done this to her. Then, slowly, her eyes opened. They were silver, bright and beautiful, like 2 small moons. She looked around the room with fear. She did not know where she was. She did not know who this strange creature was. Sitting beside her, she tried to move, but pain stopped her. "Easy," Taeho said in a soft voice. "You are safe. I am not going to hurt you." His translator worked slowly. The words came out in her language, rough and broken. But she understood. She stopped moving and looked at him with those big silver eyes. Where am I?" she asked. Her voice was like a whisper. "You are on my ship. I found you in the wreckage. Your ship was attacked." The memory came back to her. Taeho saw it in her eyes. The fear, the pain, the horror of what she had seen. Tears started to fall down her blue cheeks. They killed everyone. All of them. My guards. My teachers. Everyone. Her small body shook with sobs. I want my Oma. I want my mother. Teho felt something break inside his chest. He had no children of his own. He had no family left. But he understood this feeling. He knew what it was like to lose everything. He reached out and took her small hand in his large, rough one. Her skin was cold, but she did not pull away. What is your name? He asked gently. Lyra, she said between her tears. My name is Lyra. Lyra, that is a pretty name. I am Teho. I am going to help you find your mother. I promise. She looked at him with eyes full of hope and doubt. You are human? Yes. Humans are. My people say humans are strange, dangerous. Teho smiled a little. Your people are not wrong. We are strange. But I am not dangerous to you. I am going to protect you. Lyra studied his face. She was young, but she was smart. She could see that this human was different. His eyes were kind. His hands were gentle. Even though he looked rough and tired, there was something warm about him. Why? She asked. Why did you save me? Teho thought about the question. He could have given many answers. He could have talked about duty, or honor, or the military code. But the truth was simpler than that. Because you needed help, he said, and I was there. It was then that Teho noticed something on her torn clothes, a symbol. It was made of gold thread, showing a crown surrounded by stars. His blood went cold. He knew that symbol. Everyone in the galaxy knew that symbol. This was not just any alien child. This was Princess Lyra, daughter of Queen Oma, heir to the Valoran Empire, one of the most powerful families in the entire galaxy, and the people who had attacked her ship, the Harkan Syndicate. They were the most dangerous pirates in the Outer Rim. They killed for money. They sold prisoners to the highest bidder. If they learned that the princess was still alive, they would come back. They would tear the galaxy apart to find her. Teho looked at the small girl holding his hand. She had stopped crying. She was looking at him with trust in her silver eyes. She did not know that he had just discovered who she was. She only knew that he had saved her life. Teho, she said quietly, will you really take me home? To my Oma? He squeezed her hand gently. The road ahead would be long and dangerous. Every pirate in the sector would be hunting them. His old ship was slow and weak. The Valoran homeworld was far away. A smart man would hand her over to the authorities and run. But Teho had never been smart. He had always been stubborn. And there was something about this little girl that he could not abandon. Yes, he said. I will take you home. No matter what. Outside the window, the stars continued to shine. Somewhere out there, the Harkan Syndicate was already asking questions. They would learn soon that one escape pod was missing. They would come looking. The hunt was about to begin. But for now, in the quiet of the Wanderer, a human and an alien princess sat together, two strangers from different worlds, one promise between them. Teho did not know what was coming. He did not know how hard the journey would be. But he knew one thing for certain. He would keep his promise. He would get this child home to her mother. Or he would die trying. That was what humans did. They fought for the people they cared about. Even when the odds were impossible. Even when the whole galaxy was against them. Lyra closed her eyes and fell asleep. Still holding his hand, Teho watched her for a long moment. Then he stood up quietly and went to the pilot chair. He started the engines and set a course away from the wreckage. The journey of 1,000 stars began with a single step. And Kang Teho had just taken his. 3 days had passed since Teho found Lyra in the wreckage. 3 days of running. 3 days of hiding. The Harkan Syndicate was hunting them. Teho could feel it in his bones. He tried to contact the Valoran authorities many times. But every channel was blocked. Every signal was jammed. The Syndicate had eyes and ears everywhere. If Teho sent a message, they would find his location in minutes. So he stayed silent and kept moving. Lyra was getting stronger. Her wounds were healing fast. The medicine was working. She could walk around the ship now, looking at everything with curious eyes. She asked many questions. What is this button? What does that light mean? Why does your ship make so many strange sounds? Tejo answered all of them. He found that he liked talking to her. She was smart and brave. Even after everything she had been through, she still found reasons to smile. When he made her simple food, she said it was the best thing she had ever eaten. He knew she was lying, but it made him happy anyway. Tejo, she said one morning, sitting in the co-pilot chair beside him. Why do you live alone? Do you not have a family? The question hurt, but Tejo did not show it. He kept his eyes on the stars ahead. I had a family once, a long time ago. My parents, a younger brother, but they are gone now. Gone where? They died. In a war. When I was young. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Her silver eyes were sad. I am sorry. That is very painful. It was. But time makes the pain smaller. It never goes away completely. But it becomes easier to carry. Lyra nodded slowly. She seemed to understand. She had just lost everyone she knew too. Her guards, her teachers, the people who had protected her all her life. She was alone in the universe, except for this strange human. Tejo, she said again. My people. They think humans are not very smart. They say humans are wild and reckless. They say humans do crazy things. Tejo laughed. It was a real laugh, the first one in a long time. Your people are right. We are all of those things. Then why are you different? Why are you being kind to me? He turned to look at her. This small blue child with silver eyes who trusted him completely. She deserved an honest answer. I am not different, he said. I am exactly like other humans. We do crazy things. Yes. But we also protect the people who need us. It is in our nature. When we see someone in danger, something inside us says we must help. Even if it is dangerous. Even if it does not make sense. That is what makes us human. Lyra smiled. It was a small smile, but it lit up her whole face. I like humans, she said. I like you. Before Tejo could answer, the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed across the ship. His hands flew to the controls. And his heart went cold when he saw the screen. 2 ships, coming fast from behind. Harkin Syndicate. They had found them. Lyra, get in the back. Hide under the bed. Do not come out until I tell you. She did not argue. She ran to the back of the ship and disappeared. Tejo was alone in the pilot seat, facing 2 enemy ships. His hands were shaking, but his mind was clear. He had been in worse situations before. He could do this. The enemy ships came closer. They were fast and new and covered with weapons. His ship was old and slow, and had only 2 small guns. A fair fight was impossible. But Tejo was not interested in a fair fight. He turned the Wanderer toward a nearby asteroid field. The rocks were thick and dangerous, moving in all directions. No sane pilot would go in there. But Tejo was not sane. He was human. The enemy ships followed. They were fast, but they were careful. They did not want to hit the asteroids. Tejo did not care. He flew straight into the chaos, spinning and turning, missing rocks by inches. One of the enemy ships made a mistake. It turned too slow and hit a large asteroid. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. 1 down, 1 to go. But the second ship was smarter. It stayed close, firing its weapons. Tejo felt his ship shake as a blast hit the back. Alarms screamed louder. Smoke started to fill the air. He needed a plan. He looked around desperately and saw a cloud of gas ahead. It was fuel from old broken ships. Very dangerous. Very explosive. Crazy, he said to himself. This is so crazy. He flew toward the gas cloud. The enemy followed. When Tejo was close enough, he opened a valve on his ship and released some of his own fuel into the cloud. Then he turned hard and flew away as fast as he could. The enemy ship flew into the fuel cloud. They did not understand what was happening. Tejo pressed a button, and one of his small guns fired a single shot into the cloud. The explosion was beautiful, a massive ball of orange and red fire. The enemy ship was gone in an instant. Tejo did not have time to celebrate. His own ship was damaged. Warning lights were everywhere, but they were alive. He flew away from the asteroid field and found a quiet place to stop. His hands were still shaking when he turned off the engines. "Lyra," he called. "You can come out now." She came running. Her face was full of fear and hope. "Are we safe? Are the bad people gone?" "Yes, they are gone. We are safe." She ran to him and hugged him tight, her small arms wrapped around his neck. He felt her tears on his shoulder. "I was so scared," she whispered. "I thought they would take me again." Tejo held her gently. "I told you I would protect you. I meant it." She pulled back and looked at his face. Her silver eyes were shining. "You are very brave, Tejo. The bravest person I have ever known." He smiled a little. "I am not brave. I am just too stubborn to die." That made her laugh. It was a beautiful sound, like music in the cold silence of space. That night, while Lyra slept, Tejo worked on his ship. The damage was bad, but he could fix it. He had fixed worse before. While he worked, he thought about what was ahead. The Syndicate would send more ships. They would never stop hunting. They wanted the princess too badly. Alive, she was worth more money than most planets. Dead, she was a message to anyone who challenged them. Tejo had to get her to Valoran space. But the normal routes were too dangerous. The Syndicate had eyes on every station, every checkpoint, every trade route. There was only one way to go, the Black Veil Passage. He had heard stories about it. Everyone had. It was a region of space filled with death, gravity storms, radiation clouds, the wreckage of thousands of ships. No one had crossed it in 400 years. Every species in the galaxy said it was impossible, but maybe impossible was exactly what they needed. The Syndicate would never follow them there. No one would. It was insane. It was suicide. It was the most dangerous thing Tejo had ever considered. He looked at Lyra, sleeping peacefully in his bed. She trusted him completely. She believed he would take her home. How could he let her down? "Okay," he whispered to himself. "Okay. We do the impossible." "I can't." He finished his repairs and went back to the pilot chair. His body was tired, but his mind was awake. He pulled up the old maps and studied the Black Veil Passage. It would take days to cross, days of no sleep, no rest, no safety. His ship might not survive. He might not survive, but there was a chance, a small one, and small chances were better than no chances at all. Tejo set the course and took a deep breath. The stars stretched out before him, cold and endless. Somewhere out there, a mother was waiting for her daughter. A queen was crying in her palace, believing her child was dead. He would prove her wrong. He would bring Lyra home. He would do what no one else could do, because that was what humans did. They faced the impossible, and they won. The Wanderer's engines hummed as the ship began to move. Ahead lay the most dangerous place in the galaxy. Behind them, the Syndicate was already gathering more hunters. The race was on. The entrance to the Black Veil Passage looked like the door to hell. Dark clouds of dust and gas blocked the stars. Lightning flashed in the distance, not from storms, but from gravity waves tearing ships apart. The wreckage of ancient vessels floated everywhere, silent witnesses to all who had tried and failed. Tejo stared at it for a long time. His hands were on the controls, but he did not move. Behind him, Lyra stood quietly, looking at the same terrible view. "Is this the only way?" she asked. Her voice was small. "Yes, the Syndicate has blocked every other route. If we want to reach your home, we must go through." "But Tejo, My teachers told me stories about this place. They said it is cursed. They said no one survives. Teho turned to look at her. She was scared. Of course she was scared. Any smart person would be scared. But there was something else in her silver eyes too. Trust. She trusted him. Do you know what humans believe about curses? He asked. She shook her head. We do not believe in them. We believe that every problem has a solution. Every wall can be broken. Every impossible thing can become possible. If you try hard enough. Lyra considered this. That sounds very stubborn. It is. Humans are the most stubborn creatures in the universe. We walked on our moon before we learned to fly properly. We went to the stars before we fixed our own planet. We do things that make no sense because we believe we can. And if you cannot? If you fail? Teho smiled, but it was a sad smile. Then we die. Trying. But we never stop trying. Never. Lyra walked over and took his hand. Her small blue fingers wrapped around his large rough ones. Okay, she said. I trust you. Let us do the impossible. Teho squeezed her hand gently. Then he turned back to the controls. He took a deep breath, pushed the engines to full power, and flew into the Black Veil Passage. The first hour was quiet. Too quiet. The ship moved slowly through the dust and darkness. Teho could see nothing except what his instruments told him. The screens showed danger everywhere. Radiation ahead, gravity wells to the left, unstable energy fields to the right. There was no safe path, only less dangerous ones. Then the first wave hit. A gravity storm appeared out of nowhere. The ship shook violently. Alarms screamed. Teho fought with the controls, trying to keep them steady. Lyra held onto her seat. Her eyes closed, her lips moving in a silent prayer. Hold on! Teho shouted. The storm pulled them one way, then another. Metal groaned, lights exploded. For a terrible moment, Teho thought they would be torn apart. But he kept fighting. He pushed the engines harder than they should go. He turned the ship at angles that should have broken it. He did things that no training had ever taught him. And then, suddenly, they were through. The storm was behind them. Are you okay? Teho asked, breathing hard. Lyra opened her eyes. She looked surprised to still be alive. Yes. Yes. I think so. Good. That was just the beginning. He was right. The next 3 days were the worst of Teho's life. He did not sleep. He could not sleep. Every moment brought a new danger. Radiation clouds that could cook them alive, fields of debris that moved like angry swarms, areas where space itself seemed to bend and twist. By the second day, Teho was beyond tired. His eyes burned. His hands shook. His mind was starting to see things that were not there. But he could not stop. If he stopped, they would die. Lyra tried to help. She brought him water and food. She talked to him to keep him awake. She asked him about Earth, about his life, about his dreams. Teho answered all her questions, grateful for the distraction. Tell me about Earth, she said during a quiet moment. What is it like? It is beautiful. Blue oceans, green forests, mountains that touch the sky, deserts that burn in the day and freeze at night. We have everything. It sounds wonderful. It is, but it is also dangerous. Earth tried to kill us many times. Ice ages, diseases, wars. We almost destroyed ourselves more than once, but you survived. Yes, we always survived, because we are too stubborn to let anything beat us, not even ourselves. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, do you miss it? Earth? Teho thought about the question. He had not been to Earth in years. He had run away from it, from the memories, from the pain. But deep in his heart, it was still home. Yes, he said honestly. I miss it every day. Will you go back someday? Maybe, when I am done running. Running from what? He looked at her, this little alien girl who had become so important to him. She deserved the truth. From myself, from my past, from the people I could not save. Lyra nodded slowly. She was young, but she understood more than most adults. "But you saved me," she said softly. Something warm spread through Tejo's chest. "Yes, I did." On the third day, things went wrong. Very wrong. They were passing through a field of dead ships when the power failed. Everything went dark. The engines stopped. The lights died. Even the emergency systems went silent. They were drifting, blind and helpless, in the most dangerous place in the galaxy. Tejo tried everything. He checked every wire, every connection, every system. Nothing worked. The ship was dead. "What happened?" Lyra asked from the darkness. Her voice was shaking. "I do not know. Something drained all our power. Can you fix it?" He wanted to say yes. He wanted to comfort her. But he could not lie. "I do not know. I am trying." For the next hour, Tejo worked in the darkness. He used a small emergency light that was almost dead. He found the problem. Some kind of energy field had passed through them and fried their power systems. He could fix it, but it would take time they might not have. While he worked, Lyra sat in the corner, hugging her knees. She was crying softly. Tejo heard her, and his heart broke. "Lyra," he said gently. "Come here." She walked to him in the darkness, her silver eyes barely visible. He took her hand and held it tight. "Do you know what humans do when everything seems lost?" he asked. "What?" "We find hope. Even in the darkest place. Even when there is no reason to hope. We believe that things will get better. And because we believe, we keep fighting. And because we keep fighting, we win." "But how? How can you hope when everything is so bad?" "Because giving up is worse. Giving up means the darkness wins, and I refuse to let darkness win. Not now, not ever." Lyra was quiet. Then, slowly, she squeezed his hand. "Okay," she whispered. "I will hope too." They sat together in the darkness for a long time. Tejo kept working with one hand while holding Lyra with the other. His fingers were bleeding. His body was screaming for rest. But he did not stop, and then, finally, the lights came back on. It was not much, just a few dim lights, but it was enough. The engines started with a weak cough. The systems came back one by one. They were alive. "You did it," Lyra shouted, jumping up. "You fixed it." Tejo leaned back against the wall. He was so tired he could barely see. But he smiled anyway. "Not yet. We still need to get out of here." He dragged himself to the pilot chair and looked at the screen. They were close. So close. The exit was only a few hours away. If they could just hold together a little longer, he pushed the engines. They complained but obeyed. The ship moved forward. Slow and wounded, but moving. Lyra sat beside him, watching the darkness ahead. "Tejo," she said suddenly, "you will not leave me, right? No matter what?" He turned to look at her. This little girl who had become like family to him. The child he had promised to protect. "Never," he said. "I will never leave you." She smiled, and for a moment, the darkness did not seem so dark anymore. 4 hours later, they saw stars. Real stars. The Black Veil Passage was behind them. They had done it. They had crossed the impossible. Tejo wanted to celebrate, but he was too tired. He set the ship on automatic course toward Velaran space, and finally allowed himself to close his eyes. Lyra covered him with a blanket. She kissed his forehead gently, like he had done for her when she was scared. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for everything." Then she sat beside him and watched the stars. Ahead, somewhere in the distance, was her home, her mother, her life, and the human who had saved her would take her there. Because that was what he had promised. And humans, as she had learned, never broke their promises. Far across the galaxy, on the beautiful world of Sereth Prime, Queen Oma sat alone in her private garden. The flowers around her were the color of sunset. The water in the fountain sang a gentle song. But she saw nothing. She heard nothing. Her heart was empty. It had been 3 weeks since her daughter's ship was destroyed. 3 weeks since the Harkan Syndicate sent her a message saying the princess was dead. 3 weeks of darkness. Queen Oma was tall and beautiful, with the same pale blue skin as her daughter. Her eyes were silver, but now they held no light. Her long white hair, once carefully arranged, fell loose around her shoulders. She had stopped caring about her appearance. She had stopped caring about many things. Advisor Kale walked into the garden slowly. He was old and wise, with deep lines on his face from many years of service. He loved his queen, and it hurt him to see her like this. "Your Majesty," he said softly. "The council is waiting. They wish to discuss the response to the syndicate." "Let them wait," Oma said. Her voice was hollow. "My queen, we must act. The galaxy is watching. If we appear weak..." "My daughter is dead, Kale. What does the galaxy matter?" Kale was quiet for a moment. He had served the royal family for 50 years. He had seen Oma grow from a young princess to a powerful queen. He had been there when Lyra was born, had watched the tiny baby become a bright and curious child. Her death had broken something in all of them. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "it is time to hold the funeral. The people need closure. You need closure." Oma turned to look at him. There was fire in her silver eyes. "No, Your Majesty. I said no. There will be no funeral. Not until I see her body. Not until I hold her in my arms, one last time." "But the syndicate said, the syndicate are liars and murderers. I do not believe a word they say. My daughter is alive. I know it. I feel it. A mother knows, Kale. A mother always knows." Kale looked at her with sad eyes. He wanted to believe her. He truly did. But the evidence was clear. The royal ship had been destroyed completely. No survivors were found. The princess was gone. "My queen," he said gently, "hope can be a beautiful thing. But false hope can destroy us." Oma stood up. She was taller than Kyle, and in that moment, she looked every inch the powerful ruler she was. "If I give up hope, I give up everything. I would rather be destroyed by false hope than saved by despair. Now leave me." Kale bowed low and walked away. He knew better than to argue with the queen when she was like this. Days passed. The council grew restless. Other kingdoms sent messages of sympathy. The Harkan Syndicate grew bolder, attacking more ships, taking more prisoners. Without a strong response, they would think the Valoran Empire was weak. But Queen Oma could not focus on politics. She could not focus on war. She could only think of her daughter. At night, she dreamed of Lyra's laugh. In the morning, she woke up reaching for a hand that was not there. Then, on a day like any other, everything changed. A message came from the outer defenses. An unregistered ship had entered Valoran space. It was small and damaged, leaking atmosphere and barely holding together. The design was unfamiliar. The origin was unknown. "Destroy it," Admiral Vec ordered. He was a hard man, suspicious of everything and everyone. "Wait," said one of the communication officers. "The ship is broadcasting a message. It is repeating the same thing over and over." "What message?" The officer listened carefully to his headset. His face went pale. "Sir, it says, I have the princess. She is alive. Do not shoot." The control room went silent. Everyone stared at each other. This had to be a trick. A cruel joke. It was impossible. "Trace the ship," Admiral Vec commanded, "and send word to the Queen." When Queen Oma heard the news, she ran. She had not run in years, but now she flew through the palace halls like she was young again. Her advisors chased after her, calling her name, but she did not stop. She reached the communication center and grabbed the controls herself. "Let me hear the message," she demanded. The officer played the recording. A voice spoke in rough, broken Valoran. A human voice. "I have the princess. She is alive. Do not shoot. Repeat, I have the princess. She is alive. Please do not shoot. Oma's hands were shaking. It could not be real. It could not be. And yet, get me a visual, now. The screen flickered. And there it was. A small, ugly human ship, looking like it would fall apart at any moment. It was surrounded by Valoran warships, their weapons pointed at it. Connect me to that ship, Oma ordered. Your Majesty. It could be a trap. We should. Now. The channel opened. For a moment, there was only static. Then a face appeared on the screen. A human face. Male. Tired. Dirty. Eyes that looked like they had not slept in days. And then another face appeared beside him. A small face. Blue skin. Silver eyes. A face that Oma had dreamed about every night for 3 weeks. Oma! Lyra's voice cracked through the speakers. Oma, it is me. I am alive. The human saved me. Please do not hurt him. Queen Oma could not speak. She could not move. She could only stare at her daughter's face, tears streaming down her cheeks. Your Majesty, the human said. His voice was rough and tired, but polite. My name is Kang Taeho. I found your daughter in the wreckage of her ship. The Harkon Syndicate attacked her convoy. I have been trying to bring her home ever since. How? Oma's voice broke. How is this possible? Everyone said. They told me she was dead. I know. The Syndicate wanted you to believe that. They were hunting us the whole way. We had to take the Black Veil Passage to escape them. Admiral Vex stepped forward. The Black Veil Passage? That is impossible. No one has crossed it in 400 years. The human smiled slightly. Humans are good at impossible things. Queen Oma finally found her voice. Bring them in. Bring them to the palace. Now. And if anyone harms a single hair on that human's head, I will personally execute them. The fleet parted. The damaged little ship flew through, escorted by the greatest warships in the Empire. Every officer, every soldier, every citizen who saw it could not believe their eyes. A human. A single human in a broken ship. He had done what no one else could do. He had crossed the impossible. He had saved the princess. News spread fast. By the time the Wanderer landed at the palace, the whole planet knew. People gathered outside, wanting to see the miracle for themselves. The human who had defied death, the princess who had returned. Inside the ship, Taeho looked at Lyra. She was nervous and excited, bouncing on her feet. Are you ready? He asked. Yes, I cannot wait to see my Oma. Taeho smiled. His body hurt everywhere. He had barely eaten or slept in days. His ship was destroyed beyond repair. But none of that mattered. He had kept his promise. Then let us go, he said. Your mother is waiting. The doors opened. Light flooded in. And for the first time in weeks, Lyra stepped out into the sun of her homeworld. She looked around at the familiar palace, the familiar sky, the familiar smell of flowers in the air. Behind her, Taeho walked slowly. His legs were weak, his vision was blurry, but he kept moving. He had to see this through to the end. Ahead, standing at the entrance to the palace, was Queen Oma. She was surrounded by guards and advisors, but she only had eyes for one person. Her daughter. Her baby. Her Lyra. Lyra started walking, then running. Her small feet moved faster and faster across the stone floor. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the politics, not the war, not the galaxy watching. Only a mother and a daughter. About to be reunited, Taeho watched them. His heart was full. This was why he had done it. This was why he had risked everything. For this moment, for this love, for this family. He smiled, took one more step, and then the world went dark as his exhausted body finally gave out. He fell to the ground, unconscious, but still smiling. He had done it. He had kept his promise. The rest could wait. The Grand Throne Hall of Sereth Prime was the most beautiful place in the galaxy. Crystal pillars rose to the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. The floor was made of stone that shimmered with every color of the rainbow. Sunlight streamed through windows that were taller than most buildings, painting everything in gold. Hundreds of Velerans filled the hall, nobles in fine clothes, soldiers in polished armor, advisors with serious faces. They had all come to see the impossible with their own eyes. The princess who had returned from the dead, the human who had brought her home. Queen Oma sat on her throne at the top of a long staircase. She wore her royal crown for the first time in weeks. Her silver eyes were clear and bright again. Hope had returned to her heart. The great doors at the end of the hall opened slowly. Everyone turned to look. Lyra walked in first. She was wearing a simple white dress, her silver hair brushed and clean. She looked small against the massive hall. But she walked with her head held high. She was a princess, and she had survived what no one else could survive. Behind her, supported by 2 guards, was Kang Taeho. The human looked terrible. His clothes were torn and dirty. His face was pale. Bandages covered his arms where the ship's broken metal had cut him. He had slept for 2 days in the Royal Medical Center, but he was still weak. The doctors had said he needed more rest. But when he heard that the Queen wanted to thank him publicly, he had insisted on coming. "I finished what I started," he had told the doctors. "I will see it through to the end." Now he walked through the grand hall, his tired eyes taking in the incredible beauty around him. Every Valoran in the room stared at him. Most of them had never seen a human before. To them, humans were strange creatures from a distant planet. Wild, reckless, primitive. But this human had done what none of them could do. He had crossed the Black Veil Passage. He had escaped the Harkan Syndicate. He had saved their princess. Whatever they had thought about humans before, they had to think again now. Lyra reached the bottom of the staircase and stopped. She looked up at her mother, and her eyes filled with tears. 3 weeks of fear. 3 weeks of running. 3 weeks of not knowing if she would ever see her home again. And now she was here. She was finally here. "Oma," she whispered. Her voice echoed through the silent hall. "Mom, I am back," she whispered. "Oma, I am back." Queen Oma rose from her throne. She was the most powerful ruler in 3 sectors. She commanded armies. She controlled worlds. But right now, she was just a mother who had found her lost child. She walked down the stairs slowly. Her silver eyes never left Lyra's face. With each step, her royal mask cracked a little more. By the time she reached the bottom, tears were streaming down her blue cheeks. "Lyra," she said. Her voice broke on the name. Lyra ran. She ran past the guards, past the nobles, past everyone who was watching. She ran straight into her mother's arms and held on like she would never let go. "Oma! Mom! I missed you so much. I was so scared. But Taeho saved me. He promised to bring me home. And he did. He really did." Queen Oma fell to her knees, holding her daughter tight. She did not care that the whole court was watching. She did not care about royal dignity. She only cared about the small body in her arms, the heartbeat against her chest, the voice she had been afraid she would never hear again. "I knew you were alive," Oma whispered. "I never stopped believing. Never." They held each other for a long time. The hall was completely silent. Some of the nobles were crying. Even the hardest soldiers had soft looks in their eyes. This was not politics or power. This was love, pure and simple. Finally, Queen Oma stood up. She kept one arm around Lyra as she turned to look at Taeho. The human was standing quietly, watching them with a small smile on his tired face. "Kang Taeho," she said, her voice strong again. "Come forward. Come forward." The guards released him. Taeho walked forward alone, his steps slow but steady. He stopped in front of the queen and did something that surprised everyone. He did not bow like their customs required. Instead, he knelt on one knee and lowered his head. It was the human way of showing respect to royalty. "Your Majesty," he said, "I have brought your daughter home. My promise is complete." Queen Oma looked down at this strange human. He was so different from her people. His skin was a strange pinkish color. His eyes were dark. He was built differently, moved differently, spoke differently. And yet, he had done what no Valoran had been able to do. "Rise, Kang Teho of Earth," she said. He stood, looking at her directly. He did not seem afraid or nervous. He seemed peaceful. "Why?" she asked. The same question her daughter had asked him. "Why did you do this? You did not know us. You had no reason to risk your life for my daughter. So why?" Teho thought for a moment before answering. "When I found her in that escape pod, she was scared and alone. She was calling for her mother. I could not ignore that. I could not fly away and pretend I did not hear her. But the danger, the Black Veil Passage, no one survives that journey. Someone had to try. And humans, we are very good at trying." Queen Oma was silent. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. Not the cold smile of a queen, but the warm smile of a grateful mother. "You saved my daughter's life. You brought her back to me when everyone said it was impossible. You gave me back my hope, my joy, my reason to live." She reached out and took his rough hands in her elegant ones. "I owe you everything, Kang Teho. Name your reward. Anything in my power is yours." Teho looked at her hands, then at her face, then at Lyra, who was watching him with shining eyes. He thought about what he could ask for. Wealth? He had never cared about money. A title? He did not want to be important. Land, power, treasure? "Your Majesty," he said finally, "I do not want anything." The crowd gasped. The nobles whispered to each other. Even the queen looked surprised. "Nothing? Surely there must be something." "There is," Teho admitted, "if it is not too much trouble. My ship is quite damaged. Perhaps some fuel and repairs. I have been away from the stars for too long." Lyra made a sound of protest. "You are leaving? But you just got here." "Olo," Teho looked at her with gentle eyes. "I do not belong here, little one. I am a wanderer. It is what I do." Lyra's silver eyes filled with tears. She ran to him and hugged him tight. "But I will miss you. Who will tell me stories about Earth? Who will call me little one?" He hugged her back, his rough hands gentle on her small back. "We will meet again. I promise. And you know, I always keep my promises." She looked up at him. "You promise? Really promise?" "Really promise." Queen Oma watched this exchange with thoughtful eyes. Then she nodded slowly. "Very well, Kang Teho. Your ship will be repaired with the best technology we have. Your fuel cells will be filled. And you will always be welcome in Valoran space. You are a friend of the throne, a friend of my family, a friend of my heart." She took something from around her neck. It was a small pendant, a crystal that glowed with soft blue light. The royal seal. "Take this," she said, pressing it into his hands. "This marks you as a protected person of the Valoran Empire. Any who harm you will answer to me." Teho looked at the pendant. It was more valuable than anything he had ever owned. He closed his fingers around it carefully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will treasure it always." Lyra tugged on his sleeve. "Wait here. I have something for you too." She ran off, disappearing behind a pillar. While she was gone, something strange happened. One of the Valoran guards stepped forward. He was tall and proud, with a scarred face and hard eyes. He looked at Teho for a long moment. Then, slowly, he knelt. Other guards followed. One by one, they dropped to their knees. Not to their queen, but to the human who stood before her. The nobles began to bow. The advisors lowered their heads. Even Admiral Vec, the hardest man in the fleet, gave a deep nod of respect. Teho did not know what to say. He had not expected this. He had only done what seemed right. "They are honoring you," Queen Oma said softly. "In our culture, to kneel to someone is the highest respect. You have earned it, Kang Taeho. You have earned the respect of a empire. Before Taeho could respond, Lyra came running back. She was holding something small in her hand. A charm, made of silver metal, shaped like a star. This was my favorite toy when I was little, she said, pressing it into his palm. My Oma gave it to me. It always made me feel safe. Now I want you to have it. So you will never be alone in the stars. Taeho looked at the small charm. His vision was blurry. For the first time in many years, there were tears in his eyes. Thank you, Lyra. I will keep it with me always. She hugged him one more time. He hugged her back. Then he stepped away, nodded to the queen, and walked toward the great doors. The crowd parted for him. Every eye watched him go. This human. This strange, stubborn, impossible human. He had changed everything. Not with weapons or threats, but with kindness and courage. At the door, Taeho stopped and turned one last time. He looked at Lyra and the queen, standing together, holding hands. A mother and daughter, reunited because he had refused to give up. He raised his hand in a small wave. Lyra waved back wildly, tears on her cheeks. Then Kang Taeho walked out of the Grand Throne Hall and into the sunlight. 2 days later, his ship left Valoran space. It was fully repaired. Better than new. The fuel cells were full. His body was rested and healed. As he flew into the endless black, a message spread across the galaxy. It reached every planet, every station, every ship. The story of the human who crossed the Black Veil Passage, the human who saved the princess, the human who earned the respect of an empire. Other species heard the story and wondered, what kind of creatures were these humans? What drove them to do impossible things? The answer was simple. Humans loved. They hoped. They fought for the people who needed them. Even when it made no sense. Even when it meant death. That was what made them human, and the galaxy would never forget it. In his pilot chair, Taeho held Lyra's silver charm in his hand. He smiled softly, looking at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, a little girl was safe in her mother's arms. Somewhere out there, hope had won. Until we meet again, little one, he whispered. Then he set course for the unknown and flew toward his next adventure. A wanderer among the stars. A human who had proved that love was stronger than fear. A man who had done the impossible and asked for nothing in return. That was Kang Taeho. That was humanity. And the galaxy would remember their name.